Hello, my name is Jackie Carr. I hope you're having a great day. I don't know about you, but I am so excited about who I am in God and what God is doing in my life. I want to talk for a moment about the consequences of disobeying God. And I want to look at Genesis chapter number 3, verse 16 through 17. And the Lord commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you can eat there freely, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, don't eat it, don't touch it, lest you die. And we know the story because Adam was curious, Eve was curious. What they did, they disobeyed God. And what happened? When they disobeyed God, then they realized we're naked. They were kicked out of the garden, their home, where it was beautiful, where they had everything to enjoy, and they were kicked out because of their disobedience. And prior to them disobeying God, they didn't even realize that they were naked. But when they ate of the forbidden fruit, they realized that they were naked. When you disobey God, there are consequences that you will have to pay. We know the story about Adam and Eve, and we know that because of Adam's disobedience, the Bible says you're going to work hard, you're going to be in the field, you're going to have to labor. And then he said to the woman, because you're disobeying me, when you give birth, you're going to bring forth children, and there's going to be pain in your life. Do you realize that when you disobey God, when you make a conscious effort and choice to disobey God, there's some things that have to go along with that. You don't disobey God and everything go your way. And then the Bible says, God chastens those that he loves. In other words, when you belong to God, when you're a child of God, and when you get out of line, God will beat up on you. Am I right? I want to talk about another person that disobeyed God and there were consequences. Do you remember Lot's wife? She was told to flee into the mountain and don't look back. But guess what Mrs. Lot did? She turned around and she looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. You have to understand, when you disobey God, you have to pay a price for that disobedience. And I believe personally that she looked back because her heart, her passions, her desires were still there in Sodom. But because of her disobedience, it caused her to miss out on the plan. Let's talk about the children of Israel. Now we know that God had blessed the children of Israel to come out of bondage. He says, I'm going to bring you out of bondage. I'm going to take you to a land that's flowing with milk and honey. That sounds great, right? But guess what? Because they were so disobedient, they wandered around in the wilderness for 40 years. Do you realize, child of God, that was an 11 days journey? You mean to tell me it took 40 years to get somewhere when they could have gotten there in 11 days? Yes. And the reason being, because they did not obey God. A lot of them died in the wilderness. You pay a price when you don't obey God. Child of God, there are so many blessings, so many good things that God has in store for you. But what he's looking for a child that will say, yes, God, I'll obey you. Because you have to understand, God is not going to change his word to accommodate us. When you disobey God, there is a price that you have to pay. I want to encourage you, be an obedient child. Don't disobey God because he wants to bless you. Have a beautiful evening. God bless.